Hi, I'm Brea, um, and I'm going to be talking about portfolios. I've always considered myself to be a creative person, and because of that, I've always wanted to pursue a creative career. However, I came to UCSB with absolutely no idea on how to do that, and one of the looming pieces of my lack of knowledge was a portfolio. I didn't know what a portfolio was, how to make one, or what a good portfolio looks like. And I didn't know of any resources on campus that could help me make a portfolio. And COVID hit, so I wasn't even on campus. So this presentation is an introduction and overview of portfolios, what they are, how to make one, and how to make one that is specific to the industry that you're interested in. I won't be able to dive too deep into any specific industry because of the nature of this presentation, but I hope to equip you with the tools to be able to explore this, to explore the field of your interest on your own. So let's get started. Before I do that, though, I'm going to be talking about career services very briefly and what we do here. Career services is a resource to help students with any career-related questions or concerns. We have 4 main areas that help students discover options, gain experience, get hired, and explore grad school. The first area, Discover Options, is a tool that helps students find a major that fits their career goals or a career that interests them. In the area of gaining experience, we help students find different types of experiences that will help develop their interests and career outlook. Experiences can be anything from volunteering to internships to even clubs and on-campus organizations. The getting hired of our services area of our services is just that. It's to get students hired. This is done through resume and cover letter reviews, practicing interview skills, and helping students understand the job description. And our final area of assistance is exploring grad school. We can help students research grad schools or graduate programs that match their interests and career goals, and to help them with the application process for grad school. If you find yourself needing any assistance in these areas after this presentation, make sure to come by our office for an appointment or drop an advising to help answer any questions you have. So this is my overview of the presentation. This presentation will be a brief introduction and overview of portfolios and how to build an industry relevant portfolio. I will also be comparing 2 different industries and their portfolios to show the nuanced differences between portfolios and different industries to hope that you understand how specific they are to different industries. I hope you can leave this presentation with the skills to create your own portfolio and also the tools to refine an industry-specific portfolio through personal research. So sorry, mouthful. So let's get into it. What is a portfolio? Quite simply, a portfolio is a presentation of your best creative work. It is a collection of creative pieces that range from art and design to graphics and coding, and they're used to show your skills and interest to an employer. For example, while you can say you know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator on your resume, it is much easier to show an employer what you can make. A portfolio demonstrates your craftsmanship, creativity, and level of skill through the work you have already completed. This proves to an employer that you are capable of the projects for which you are applying for. Beyond that, a portfolio is a place to showcase what matters to you. This can mean your personal style for your creative work or an illustration of the things beyond your creative work that you are passionate about. For example, this could be seen as like a graphic designer who has a passion for vintage poster design, which is their design specialty, and that they use their creative skills to create posters for a social issue that they're advocate for. Portfolios demonstrate a curated collection of you and your work to an employer. Next, we'll get into who needs one. In the last slide, I said that a portfolio is used to demonstrate ability to an employer, but that is not the only reason. While portfolios are commonly provided for employers when applying to a job, they can also be used to apply to art schools or art programs. These portfolios are formatted differently than that of a professional portfolio in that they tend to be more strict. While in a professional portfolio, you get to choose what's in it. Often in school portfolios, there are certain requirements that are needed in your portfolio. This can be seen as challenging as it requires you to follow a list of requirements very rigidly, but can also provide a helpful guide for what you're looking for and is good practice for creating a professional portfolio. As for professional portfolios, they can be exclusively for applying for jobs in the creative industry, but they can also be used to get your name out there. Often, artists will link to their portfolio in their Instagram bios or LinkedIn profiles, or even message them directly to recruiters. Showing your portfolio to a wide variety of people is a great way to get your name out there with examples of your work. This is the beefiest slide. This is how to make a portfolio. So the first thing you want to consider, the first decision you want to make is how you wish to present your portfolio. The most common technique is to have a website to share your portfolio because it is the easiest, because it's easy to share a link on your resume or your LinkedIn profile. However, there are other formats to be aware of. Physical portfolios are used when applying to jobs in person. However, they are being phased out in favor of website or PDF portfolios. Some industries will require you to have a physical copy of your portfolio, so make sure to check out the industry standards and the job description for the position you're applying to. PDF portfolios are less common than website portfolios, but are still just as easy to send out to an employer. I've often seen PDF portfolios personally used for graphic designers, but they are also applicable to multiple industries. And finally, because websites are the most common type of portfolio, they are the most applicable across multiple industries. I will be focusing on how to create a website portfolio for this presentation. On the middle of the slide are common websites that can be used to create a portfolio. Most of these websites are free, which are a good place to start for students creating their first portfolio and applying to internships or entry-level positions. But paid portfolio websites often look more professional and have a wider range of tools. It's important to consider what would work best for you and your creative work when choosing a site. So try checking out all of these sites and seeing what they have to offer. Personally, I've used Weebly in the past, and it's a very bare bones website builder, so it's really easy to use, but it doesn't look very professional. So it's good for if you're just wanting to put like your pictures of your work onto a website and that's all you need it for. I think it works really well for that. And it's a great introduction if you want to move on to some more complicated websites later, like Wix. And finally, here are some tips on getting started with your portfolio. The first tip I have is to look at other portfolios from people in the industry that you're interested in. We're going to try doing this a little bit later in the presentation as well. This will give you a general idea of the formatting of their portfolio and how many examples of your work to include, along with industry-specific information. You can find example portfolios on a number of websites, but a good place to start is LinkedIn. Speaking of the quantity of examples to use in your portfolio, my next piece of advice would be only to choose the best examples of your work. A good rule of thumb across every industry is quality over quantity. You don't want to display every piece you have ever made, but rather the ones that show your best work. Best can mean the highest level of craftsmanship, or the best presentation of integrated use of software, or the pieces that are the most applicable to the position for which you're applying to. You want your portfolio to be highly curated to demonstrate the best work you have done, and the work that is most relevant to the job description for what job you're applying to. If that might be a struggle because you are lacking relevant work, my next tip is to create mock projects. This is a great tip for students specifically because in our classes, we might not have a lot of time to create professional looking projects. So this is something that you can do in your free time to build up your portfolio. Because portfolios don't have to just be work you've done professionally. They can be projects you've created just for your portfolio. This is a great way to demonstrate your relevant skills and also your personal creativity. Creating mock projects can really expand your skills as well, as they can teach you to expand the skills you already have to create a more well-rounded project. And finally, I have alluded to this throughout the other tips, but make your portfolio job specific and industry specific. While you may have a multitude of different industries you are interested in and creative work for many different types of positions, it is best to create separate portfolios for each job or industry you're applying to. That makes it easier for an employer to pick out your relevant skills from a portfolio and keeps your portfolio clean and well organized. This also means that your portfolio should be specific to the requirements and standard practices of the industry you're applying to, which I will expand on in the next slide. Okay, this is the slide where I will be comparing two different industries and their portfolios and what those may look like. In this slide, on the left is Michelle Lamb, and she's a storyboard artist for the animation industry. And on the right is Paula Casa. She's a graphic designer. Their portfolios and the explanations of their portfolios from their respective YouTube videos about them, which you should check out because they're really helpful guides on how they went about the thought process of creating their portfolios. They demonstrate nuanced differences between creating portfolios for different industries. For example, in the animation industry, Michelle underscores the importance of creating a portfolio that is highly specific to the job or studio you're applying to. This makes it clear that you understand the requirements of the position and the style of the studio you are applying to. In addition to examples of her storyboards, she might also highlight other relevant pieces of work, like sketches or comics that demonstrate a broad skill set within the specific practice she's applying to, like storyboarding. Michelle also emphasizes including personal projects in your resume that show your passions and unique storytelling perspective. Here's an example of Michelle's portfolio. Unfortunately, because she's a professional, her professional work was password locked, which is something you can also consider for your portfolio, is to password lock it so only employers can see it. But on the first page of her website, she had personal work available that gave you an idea of her style. It gave you an idea of her personality, and also like how her style fits into specific industry standards. Going in depth about her portfolio in another resource, she talked about how it doesn't contain a whole lot of examples, but each example is very, very specific to the job she's applying to. If she's applying to work as a storyboard artist, she's not going to include animation, even if it is under the animation industry. Here's another example of her portfolio. It's very clean. It has relevant pieces of work, but also work that shows her personality. Contrastingly, Paola Casa, a graphic designer, will have a very different approach to creating an industry-specific portfolio. Paola recommends including in multitudes of different experiences and creative pursuits to show a well-rounded creativity. This is very different from Michelle's industry portfolio, which focuses on a specific creative practice, because graphic design calls on many different creative skills beyond just drawing or using software. However, similarly to Michelle, Paola recommends using process details to illustrate how you came to your final design. This demonstrates your process and how you make creative decisions. So here's an example from Paola's portfolio. These top 4 are different projects that she worked on that show quite a different range in her abilities as a graphic designer. They show fonts and text, images, photography, and then her own personal branding. And even further into her portfolio, she goes into like using clay or knitting. So her portfolio holds an expansive amount of different pieces of relevant work. Here's another example. Like Michelle's, it's very clean. I like that they're contrasting, and Michelle's uses a black background and hers uses a white. They're very different, but they still look very professional. This is Paola Casa's explanation of how she came to her visual identity as a graphic designer. So even using her own work to promote herself in her portfolio, it's a very creative way to demonstrate what you can do in your portfolio. I'm showing you these examples not because they are the only 2 ways to build a portfolio, but to underscore how important it is to create a portfolio that is relevant to the industry you are applying to. And on a final note about industry-specific portfolios, if you find that you keep getting rejected from a position you're applying to, you might want to consider if your skills match what they're looking for. It's not that you're not skilled enough, but it might just be that you happen to skew down a different path. Maybe you're applying to work in the animation industry as a concept artist, but your art is better suited for book illustration. Your portfolio matches your skills to an industry that will be glad to have you. Remember that your unique style is what makes you stand out, and you need to work with them, not against them. So finally, what to do next? So now that you have a foundational understanding of creative portfolios, what do you do next? Well, there are a lot of different routes that you can take, from following professionals, researching the kind of portfolio to create, or reaching out to a mentor or professor to critique your portfolio with you. This presentation is not the end, but the beginning of your journey to refine your portfolio. The portfolio building process is one of creating pieces to present and curating pieces, and most importantly, of researching. Be mindful about how you create your portfolio, and do so with the knowledge of the job you are applying to in the industry you want to work in, and always have that present in your mind. This will give you the best portfolio for your personal needs as a creative professional. There's a lot of information on this slide if you need to take a picture of it really quickly. I won't be like going through it, but just really quickly, if you're in the design space or illustration space, huge shout out to Behance, because you can find quite a few different portfolio examples on there from different industry professionals. And always remember, if you find someone that you really like and inspires you a lot, try to check out if they have a LinkedIn, see if you can connect with them. They may become a mentor for you. There's definitely then somebody who can help you build your portfolio or critique your portfolio with you. All right, that's the end of my presentation. Do you guys have any questions for me? Anything that I can answer, feel free to shout out out loud or in the chat, either way. Yeah, no worries. If you don't have any questions for me, you guys are free to go. If you need any more assistance with building a portfolio, you can reach out to me specifically if you want to, because I have quite a bit of knowledge on portfolios, but career services might not be the most knowledgeable place for portfolios. I would recommend going to any mentors that you have, either through the art department, film department, anything. Oh, is that a question? Are you currently working on a portfolio yourself, and what programs are you using to create them? I have a portfolio currently, and it is through the website Weebly. What programs are you using to create them? I work specifically within illustration, or I'm trying to work specifically within illustration. So my illustrations are created either digitally or traditionally. I can show you mine. It's not a good example. I learned a lot from like researching this. So, okay, I'll stop sharing and I will pull it up because it's not great, but you know, why not? I was on the wrong Zoom link. Would it be possible to get the recording? Yes, the recording will be available to anybody who registered for the event afterwards. Oh, to finish answering the other question, yeah, I don't use a whole lot of programs specifically, but if you're more into like the UI UX space, there are website builders that are built to mimic code building websites. So like it's a lot more technical if that's what you're talking about, and those are available for more UI UX coding based questions. Okay, I will share my portfolio. Like I said, it's not great. But because I'm working within like illustration, I just have a few of like different examples because mine is meant to be a catch-all for internships. So I don't have an industry specific portfolio. This has some background pieces, some character design, and a difference between digital creation and traditional media. And it has not a whole lot of my examples of my work. Okay, and then to answer that question, I will just put my email. If you would like to email me, my name is Brea Spencer. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Oh, I didn't mean a direct message. I'm so sorry. Oh. Okay, were there any questions that I didn't answer, or were there any more questions that you guys had? If not, thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This was quite a bit of research for me. So, all right, thank you guys.